April 6th, 2026, right at 8:09 p.m. And I see the light of Michael, the archangel, right there above the candle, that blue light. And that's the sword of truth. And I know for some, the truth hurts. I know it's hurt me, now that I see. And thanks to Carl Jung, I understand what happened to me. And if you don't want to hear my story, it's okay. It's my perspective, how I experienced it personally. Laura Lambrighter, just little old me. And I am old at 63. And if you're listening, I appreciate you. You know, if you're willing to hear the truth. My truth, anyway. My truth is not everybody's truth. So, that's okay. But this is how I experienced it and witnessed it and see it. We're into 2020 and getting there. And Joey and I needed somewhere to go and to get out of Raton. And I was with Dubai one day, this lady at Tractor Supply there in Raton, and she told me about this cabin that her family had up where Mike and I had property. And she described it to me. She said, you know, if you need a place to go there. You know, it's open. Okay. So anyway, we had to get out of Raton. Just wow, everything that happened at Viola's and being left in the dark about all the stuff going down in the background. Chuck ended up being a 33, or he was a Mason. I'm not sure what degree he was, but he was a Mason. So he was in on the whole thing, him and Lucia, I guess. You know, you put the puzzle pieces together. He died some years ago. But anyway, Joey and I needed to get out of Raton, and we had no money. And so we went to go see the old property that Mike and I used to have up there in Trinidad. I think it was exit 6. And we went to go look at this. And we were looking all over for Lariat Circle up there. And I knew it was there somewhere, but I think there was a sign that had gone down or something, because I couldn't find it for the life of me. And then we drive past the sign and say, hey, that's like the cabin that this lady described at Tractor Supply. And I said, let's go take a look in. And yeah, sure enough, we go down this little road, and there's a little cabin, you know, a little outhouse. Wasn't much, but it's somewhere. And before we went up there, Joey and I were sitting on the side of the off-ramp in Trinidad, not knowing what we were going to do, really. We're just sitting there, and I talked to Chuck. I called Chuck Hyde while I was up there. And I said, you know, we're on the side of the road. We don't know where we're going to go. He said, I know. How he knew, I don't know. But it was a heads up, though. We're being watched, definitely. So I said to Joey, let's go up to see if I can find my old property. Go take a look. And, you know, see what's up. Just go hang out. And so we found that cabin after I couldn't find Lariat Circle. There's a cabin. And so I turned off Buzz and hey, let's check it out, you know. And we go and the door's locked. I'm like, well, that's where she said it's open. It's her family's. And, you know, okay. And we go to get back in Buzz, and Buzz won't start. I mean, it was up in the mountain. It was December. It was really, it was a beautiful day up there, but it was really cold. It's like 10,000 feet up there. And there was snow, and Buzz Buzz had to four-wheel drive, so Buzz Buzz wouldn't start. And I'm like, oh no. And my battery on my phone was going to get low. It wasn't going to last forever. And so I called AAA, and I said, this is an emergency. I need to jump. I need to get off this mountain, you know. And AAA dispatched to J&N Towing, J&M. Angie was the owner's name at the time. And weirdest thing happened, you know. I called AAA again. It gave them my coordinates, even where to find me. And they said, we'll send someone, you know, if they should be there no later than you know, I think 3. I called about noon or 1 or something. And so Joe and I, you know, kind of look around Dubai. And at 3 o'clock goes by, no AAA. It shouldn't have taken that long. And by that time, my phone was dead. And I had no way to charge it. No electricity. Not even in the cabin, it had no electric. I'm going, oh, great. And I told them it was an emergency. It's going to get cold up there. So I look at Joey. I said, Joey, if they're not here by 4 o'clock, we're going to have to get in that cabin because we'll freeze to death up here in Buzz Buzz. No electricity. You know. Yeah. Yeah, I was scared. And still, you know, in survival mode from all the other stuff I've been through. Good God. And, yeah, they never showed up. So 4 o'clock came, and I said, let me go look at this again. And Joey's watching Dubai and Buzz Buzz. And I went to go, I said, let me go look around this cabin. And there was a window broken. It was a little one. It was like a little kitchen window or something. And luckily, I had lost all the weight. But I said, okay, well, it's already broken. Can't do any more harm to it. So I finished kind of breaking the window out. And I got my little Joe helped me, and I got in there for shelter because it was freezing. No tow company. None. And no way of calling. It was getting dark. And we ended up getting arrested for that. And it was a very weird experience. Again. And for surviving. Yeah. Had to leave Buzz Buzz up there, obviously. They took us in and took my puppy. Never saw her again. Anyway, but J&M never showed up, and I called them. And I said, hey, what's up? How come you didn't show up? What, you know, where were they? They come driving up, I think, the next day at 10 o'clock. I don't know. And by that time, it was too late. And I don't know. But I called them, and they said, oh, hey, yeah, we didn't go. Sorry, we got busy. When they were trying to explain to me why they didn't show up when I called them. I said, AAA told you it was an emergency. You know, what happened? Well, in retrospect, I know what happened. Mike somehow caught wind of it, or they caught wind of it. And rather than calling AAA and saying, hey, we can't make that dispatch, they didn't call AAA or anybody to tell them they didn't come get us. They could have dispatched it to, I think it was Kelly's Towing that finally brought me Buzz Buzz after I got out of jail. And which was another weird situation that happened in that time frame with my attorneys. You know, they're supposed to be representing me. And April Jolly came to see me up there in jail after they arrested me and Joey. traumatically. Oh, and I asked April Jolly, "What are you doing here? You're not here for me. You're not on my side. What information?" I really didn't even want to talk to her at all, really. Needs a coffee. And so again, in confusion, shoot, the window was already broken. And the tow company left me thrown. Totally. And Joe. And my puppy. So, into jail I went. And, I'm talking to, well, my attorney, Becky Briggs, and Matthew was Joey's public defender. And they wouldn't let us talk to each other. For me, I spent 2 weeks in there. And April Jolly came to see me, like I said. For what reason, I'm uncertain. Just to get information, I guess. And again, things going on behind the scenes that I don't know what's happening. Being left in the dark and not knowing. So, luckily, I lasted in there for 2 weeks, and the food was killing me with my gastric bypass. That was totally going apart, going south on me. And forgive me. I'm so sorry. This is a very, very long story, and it's weird Twilight zoning. And so Becky tells me, I got out. Forgive me. I called Dr. Reverend John Paul McGarry after they gave me those beans that were trying to kill me. And something inspired me, the Holy Spirit. It was the weirdest thing. Something said, call John, call John, call John. And I called him. I said, John. He's like, how you do? How you do? He didn't even know what we were missing. Nobody looked for us but April Jolly. Or for me, anyway. And, so John put up $250 for me just on a whim. He even put his house on the line for me, for my bail. It was $2,000 I had to come up with. Well, I had to come up with $500, and then I had to pay the other $1,500 off to stay out of jail. That was hell because I was broke. I only had $250 in my account. John helped me with the other $250, and I got out, and then I had to come up with $500 a month. God, it was awful. Just to stay out of jail, just for getting shelter, and the tow company not coming to get me. It totally threw me off kilter. And but it, again, stuff done behind the scenes. And so I got out. I had nowhere to go. I'm sitting there at the gas station in Raton at the crossroads there where Lori owns. And her family. Good people. And Jim Marchetti. Bless his heart and soul. Poor baby. And, because Jim Marchetti knew me to be true, truly. And, I had to live in Buzz Buzz at John's church because I had nowhere else to go. And I would hang out at the gas station when I had to go. And I had to come up with ways, just do it in a jar and keep the jar, get rid of it when I had a chance, That way I didn't have to move Buzz Buzz. It cost me $5 a night in gas to stay alive because it was a winter. It was December and Joey was in there. And they said in the beginning because we were co-defendants we couldn't talk to each other. I'm like, what? Say what? 1444. Right there. Yeah, going through a door. And when I got out, Dubai was gone. And I asked Tina leave her with ATV if she would take care of her, and that I wanted her. Please go get her. Please go get her. And Tina Lever left her there. And that was heartbreaking for me. And then that hurts me. And so I told her, hey, I know what you did. You gave up my puppy. You didn't go get her for me. So you're on target. I'm watching you. I know what you're doing. You did that to me. It hurt me greatly. Even, it would hurt anybody, I would imagine. So anyway, I was staying in Buzz Buzz in my car, and people were eyeing me. Shelley at John's church was watching me like an eagle. I was being watched at all times. Now, in retrospect, it's obvious, but sometimes you don't see it. You just don't. And, yeah, I was still drinking. Yeah, and I would just lock my doors, buckle in, crash out, and it was really tough. But I did stay alive. I got creative in Buzz Buzz. I kept my food down on the floor where it would keep warm. I turned on the heater every hour or two and let it run for 15 minutes or so, get it warm, and go back to sleep. Rest. Many nights I was straight, all alone, in absolute confusion of what was going on around me, in this illusion that I was in. Delusion, whatever you want to call it. And, so many weird things happened to me like that. People couldn't get their head around it, what was happening. And Holy Spirit guided me to do this recording. And I had gotten a hotel there in Raton. Jimmy helped me. He paid for, I think, a week for me at the hotel, because I couldn't stay with him. I stayed one night with him at his cabin, 1 or 2 nights. I think it was one. Yeah, it was just one. And him and I got to be real good friends. I mean, he helped me when he bought my Ryder Cradle from me. And he came and got me at the gas station when I was sitting there all alone, not knowing where to go. And Jimmy came and got me and took me out to this little place and saved me. And he knew I was a good lady. In fact, Jimmy ended up knowing the people who owned the cabin that I got busted in, or just needed a place to stay. And he said, they're good. They understand, they do. They, Jimmy knew I was true. I didn't do anything on purpose to hurt anybody. And I shouldn't have been arrested for it and had to go through all that. And so I had a case, obviously, in Trinidad. I had to go through, and it was weird because when I got out and I was talking to my attorney, Becky Briggs, I'm going back to that, and she said, yeah, I explained to her, look, we needed shelter. The tow company didn't come get us. Hey, what do you want me to say? I mean, it's simple. It was an emergency. Yeah, you got this. You got this, Laurel. You got it. And we'll go to court, I think it was the next day. And it's going to be okay. And Dr. Reverend John Paul McGarry was there in court. And the weirdest thing, I get handed a restraining order. Nothing about hearing my case, just opposite of what Becky Briggs told me was going to happen. And I got ordered to do a forensic psychiatric evaluation for the state of Colorado. And at the same time, I had this case going on down in Raton. sometime after I'll explain. Anyway, so it was weird how the whole story changed. And my attorney flipped on me like that. It was weird. It was super weird. And that happened a lot to me. A lot. They would tell me one thing, lead me to believe one thing, and then turn around and do something totally differently. It's the worst thing. And so I did the forensic psychiatric evaluation for Colorado, and they found me competent, of course. It far outweighed the psychological evaluation. Raton had their it was totally different. It just talked about how I was traumatized and how I suffered severe trauma. Like Carl Jung would say, you know, I'm a super empath, and I was trained, unfortunately. And so then Joey was still in jail, and I was staying at the Travel Lodge temporarily, and I was working with John Palmageri at the church, singing for the shut-ins that day. And it was in December. And, well, no. Let me think. Yeah. It was Christmas time. And I stayed at the Travel Lodge. And this was another very strange experience. I went there, and I rented my room for a night, and when I got back, they had taken everything out of the room, even though I paid for the night. I had $700 missing. That was Joey's, that John Palmageri got from me. My iPad was gone. All my stuff was gone from the room. I had some stuff, all kinds of stuff was missing. And I didn't understand the reasoning at all. And so I went to church with John that next Sunday, and we did our rounds with the shut-ins singing. And I was in a lot of pain from standing all day and being out and about. I was exhausted. I was in a lot of pain. So John helped me get, John stopped at the store. Buzz was there. I got a bottle. I got a 6-pack and I got a bottle. I forget what it was, probably Jack. And I got my Domino's pizza and my Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And I paid, as I came in, I paid with my credit card. And I paid for 2 more nights at Travel Lodge. And I said, hey, have you found my property yet? I had $700 cash, my iPad, all of that. And they said, no, we haven't found it yet. Haven't found it yet. I said, okay, well, I'll pay for a couple more days then. And give you some time to find I had a black pillow, you can't miss it. It was my feather pillow. They took it. That pillow cost me like $200 for that thing. And all my other stuff was missing. So I said, okay, I'll pay for a couple more nights, give you a chance to find my stuff. Please find it. And I reported it, that my stuff was gone, stolen, to Garcia. Officer Garcia, with Raton PD. And, that was the day it happened when I got there, and And so I went back and, hey, I'll give you a chance to find my stuff. And I had a ball, and the day was rough, and I didn't have my stuff. So I wanted to take a bath. They didn't have a bath. I had to take a shower. Well, that meant I had to stand. And I was in incredible pain. Yeah. My body was hurting bad. So I thought, okay, I'm going to sit here and have my Philly cheesesteak, my pizza, and my, bit of Jack and my six-pack. I'm going to relax. I'm beat, tired. And I'm sitting there in my bed, and I'm resting, and all of a sudden, and I was naked. I was getting ready to get in the shower, and I was resting while I was getting the energy, and I get a knock, knock, knock on the door, and knock, 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 and I'm like, what's this? What's going on? Is there an emergency? So I look out the window, and I see it's PD. This was High Tree. And I said, is there an emergency or something? Knock, 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 knock. He wouldn't stop. And I went to the door, and I said, I'm not decent, sir. Is there an emergency? Is there something wrong? He said, you're not decent? I said, no, I'm not decent. Can I help you? What's happening? Is there an emergency? Well, what do you mean you're not decent? I said, I'm not decent. And I said, see? I said, you want to see? He said, yeah. I said, see? I'm not decent, You're under arrest. Get dressed. You're under arrest. And apparently, they said I didn't pay my hotel bill, but I didn't know that at the time. I thought he was arresting me because I was undressed and opening to an officer. But that shouldn't have. I told him I wasn't decent. It was ridiculous. So I get dressed. He arrests me in the cold. I leave Buzz and whatever, and he hauls me off to Colfax Maldonado Center for the whole weekend, whatever. And I was livid. Oh, I was not happy at all. At all. And everybody was laughing at me, looking at the video of me being naked while he's, arresting me. When I should have never been arrested, I paid my hotel bill. And Sarah Montoya, my attorney, knew that. Then I had to deal with that with Sarah Montoya, who was also Carlos Cordova's attorney, as I understand it. And that's conflict of interest altogether with. And Melissa Kennelly, for the judge for my DV, was doing everything for Mike, even going so far as calling him for his own hearing he didn't show up at. And I was there, I was present for the hearing, but Mike wasn't even there. So, we got to call him. It's unheard of, the bias that was on my shoulders for him, unfortunately for me. And it's really sad, and I'm staying up to finish this part. Heaven help me, I'm almost at 30 minutes. 28, 33. And so I paid my hotel bill, and Sarah Montoya was supposed to be representing me for that case. And I'm dealing with all these attorneys. CYFD, Sarah Montoya, and then the changing of attorneys. It's an awful thing. Because attorneys were turning on me too, like Terrence Camp, who didn't have a clue. And the first attorney that I had, Corey Dar, who called me a liar when I had the video right there. Yeah, it's like, hey, I don't want to do it. And they're all getting paid. As a matter of fact, when I did the forensic psych evaluation and all that for Becky Briggs, at the end of it all, she says, you're very functional for, and I'm like, a what? And she wouldn't say it. But then she said, if you and Joey had the money that we all got paid for your hearings and the judges and all that, you guys could live comfortably for the rest of your days. Honestly. They made all the money. courts and the attorneys and all that. They got a great job, on me. And so, wow, yeah. And my poor body, what she was going through, all that too. And now I recognize kind of more and more what happened. Everything was behind closed doors. Has been for a lot of my life, really, now that I look back at it all. And yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money on me. Attorneys, judges, clerks, whatever, they all got paid while I suffered. And it's really, really sad. Really. And so, yeah, Sarah Montoya, I had to do a forensic psych evaluation during COVID. This is 2020. I had to come down from Trinidad. It was from Pueblo. I had to go down. This is February of 2020. When COVID came down. And I was forced to do that under the threat of arrest for a hearing that, my case got dismissed. Like it should have been. It was obvious. I paid for my hotel bill, yet they arrested me. But Sarah Montoya wouldn't help me get the $500 they took for a one-night stay. And they said, John Paul McGarry was right there. And, why would they give me 2 keys? And they said that I just went to pick up my stuff. Why would I pay for a room if I'm just going to pick up my stuff? It all comes together. It really does. It's a weird as dagnab thing. When you see it from where I'm looking now, it's like Carl Jung said. You're looking at your house and all of a sudden you notice that a wall wasn't as you originally perceived it. And then once you see it for what it really is, you never see it different. You never see it the same again. And so looking back at it now that I recognize it, it's incredible what I've seen in these scenes. And so they had, they found in the other forensic psych evaluation ordered by New Mexico that I had to go down to during the height of COVID. Otherwise, they were going to arrest me, if you can believe it. Really. Unbelievable. And I already did one for Colorado, but they said it wouldn't apply. But they found the very exact same thing. They found that I had been traumatized badly and abused by many. And, and high anxiety, definitely. CPTSD, extremely. And they told the truth about me and my story. Very traumatic. You would think that would be enough for them, right? That they would leave me alone and stop torturing me. Like I hadn't been tortured enough or tortured myself enough, really. So, yeah, they really did a number on me, truly. I don't know where that horse sound came from, but that was trippy. And it is the year of the fire horse, and we're moving ahead with this, full force. They don't want me to tell this truth about the corruption in their system. And they totally left me in the dark about Carlos Cordova and what he supposedly did to my daughter Dixie. They didn't even let me know that they had arrested him in April of 2020. Yeah. They didn't even let me know. I didn't find out till a year later, till 2021. Otherwise, at 34, I would have held him sooner. And because of that gnosis letter, the kids accused me, and then apparently they turned around and accused poor Carlos Cordova of raping my daughter, which is really sad. And so Yeah, I was competent. People, places, things, all that. And I had to go through all that to have my case dismissed for paying my hotel bill, if you can believe this. And so, and they violated me so many ways. It's not even funny. Yeah. And it takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of bravery to tell the truth, and I'm really proud of me at 35 exactly. It's just my story. This is what happened to me in this system of inequality, because they gave Michael Rubin everything. They didn't even listen to me when I told them he falsified police documents, that he exaggerated. And Tina Lever said, yeah, they're going to give him everything. And if I had to live your life for 3 weeks, I would kill myself. That's what my alternatives to violence counselor told me. She knew everything, but could do nothing to help me, sadly. And so I was up in Pueblo trying to get Joey home. They wouldn't let me talk to him. I didn't know if he was alive or dead. In Trinidad, up Los Animas Asses County. Almost killed me. Almost killed him with the beans too at the same time. It was awful. And they had their own policies. They did what they wanted to. They had rights and responsibilities of, for inmates hanging from the TV, and that was the first thing I read was my rights, so I would know. And they said, oh, we're changing it, so it's in flux, and in the meantime we're doing it our way. We don't have, yeah. Well, you're not supposed to supersede something else until it's written, and all the inmates have knowledge of it. Then these policies stick, because these are what's in writing, and this is as we understand them. If you're going to update them, then change the rules. Update it, print it, then pass it out. But instead, they left everybody ignorant. And Los Animas was charging Joey when I finally was able to talk to him, find out he's not dead, they wouldn't let me see him for my birthday. I would go and see him when I, finally, hey, these are separate cases in a way. I was supposed to have an hour with him, and they only gave me 15 minutes, if that. And poor Joey was going crazy in there. People were ripping off his money that I was putting on books for him, and giving him a hard time, not letting him see me for all that time. After my, I think it was my 57th birthday, yeah, they wouldn't let me see him at all. And then I stopped going, and I would just call. And some people at this hotel I stayed at, by Walmart, the Tower, I think it was called. And they said, hey, you got to get out of here, lady. You got to go. I met Morpheus Grey Wolf there. Good man, but crazy. I was always attracted to the ones that, that were different. And he was the maintenance guy there, and he was nice, to me. But anyway, wow. And I'm leaving a lot of stuff out, actually. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to keep track on timelines here, really. And so he said, you got to go north. Just keep going. I knew I couldn't go into the state of New Mexico. I wasn't safe there anywhere. Nowhere was I safe in New Mexico. I couldn't get back fast enough out of that after that forensic psych evaluation. They didn't provide me any quarantine and this is the height of COVID. It just came out during that time. But anyway, I went to get Joey out of jail, and I had to travel all the way down from Pueblo to Trinidad And COVID had, just come out. And it was not good. This like April, right about this time of year. But there was a big snowstorm that went through there. And so I had to leave with our dog, really super early, so I would get there. And hey, all I got to do is get there and get him. If we hit a snowstorm, we'll pull over and get a hotel. And I got all the way down there with O, and they didn't want to let go of Joe. They were saying that I went and I pulled in, and this cop comes out. Luckily, I didn't stop anywhere. I've said this story many times. It's the last time I'm going to say it, though. Thank God Almighty. And this cop comes out, and he says, "Have you been anywhere?" I said, "What do you mean, been anywhere?" "Yeah, I'm here." He said, "Well, did you stop and shop anywhere?" And I said, No. I just went to Burger King. I went through the drive-thru." "Oh, well, good, because if that was the case, we wouldn't be able to let go Joe because, COVID." And he handed me this paper about COVID outlines, or policies or whatever, right? And I said, "No, sir, I'm just going to sit here with O and have our cheeseburgers and french fries and wait for Joey. We're just waiting. I know he's getting out today, totally." I confirmed it with his attorneys. Yeah. And I had to plead down with Becky Briggs to get him out. I had to take, I guess, felony trespassing. Yeah, to get Joe out. I had to bow down so he, because they were trying to make him have responsibility. He didn't have any. His sister, Elaine, came all the way out from Chicago to say, "Hey, if you dump her, I'll get you out, bro." It was really messed up, And she was trying to blame it all on me, too. And Joey said, "No, you go home. You go home. No, I'm not giving her up." And she left him there rather than getting him out and helping him. So he waited patiently for his time and his hearings for trespassing and surviving. And, excuse me. And, so I'm sitting there waiting for Joe, and then they're telling him they don't want to let him go inside, And he's like, no, man. Joey comes running out about 45 minutes later, an hour maybe. I waited a while, but they were looking for any excuse, really, for me not to get him COVID. And really, the cops were the ones, they bring it in, they go home to their families and interact and get COVID, and then they bring it into the jail. They're more a threat to the prisoners than the prisoners. They're isolated, So it was really weird with COVID country that way. In nursing homes and stuff like that. They could let in employees that have been exposed to everybody. But, you couldn't even see your own family. Yeah, so, shoot. Yeah, COVID messed up everybody. And poor Carlos Cordova, as I understand it, was trying to have a hearing during this time. And he told me that it was all out of line. And everybody was trying to do everything online. Nobody could appear in person. And the judge was really biased for Dixie. And that the kids were lying to him about me, and he heard all of it, he told me. Yeah, so he was in there. I didn't even know he was in there. Yeah, I find all this out later, when all the puzzle pieces start clicking together. And, wow, it was really something. Anyhow, so I got Joey out. He came running out. He didn't even put his boots on. He couldn't get out fast enough, but they were doing whatever they could to hold him. That's for certain. And mess with our minds, really. And so we flew back to Pueblo, and by the grace of God, I got us a motorhome. Patsy sweet. And she was sweet. She was a bit off. Big bit off, 30 feet long. She was big. And, or 33 feet, actually. And I got her running by the grace of God Almighty and a lot of prayers. And I parked her over by Jane L Trailers. They're on Lake Avenue, Pueblo. And I got me a phone, and I was really blessed. I got Patsy Sweet for $100 down and $100 a month, if I could get her running. I had to get her going. So a friend of mine, Clifford, I met, he came and helped me. He was a Chevy guy. And lo and behold, with a lot of work. And Patsy was, she was not in good shape when I got her, believe me. He was ready to shred her, John. Or Carl. And Julie, his daughter, her and I got to be close friends because I hung out at the shop to fix Patsy Sweet. I got Patsy Sweet running in 3 days. And I parked it over at Carl's shop. He had an RV place. And I fixed Patsy Sweet little by little. And I got a spot over at Fort's RV Park, there across the street. And started working on Patsy Sweet. And I had to work hard. She needed a lot of work, cleaning, getting stuff out of her, organizing, getting set up to live in. Patsy Sweet was really old. She was in 1988, pretty sure. And about as old as this right now. And, but she was big, and boy, you know, with O protecting me there at the shop, and O was huge, big old white dog. He was humongous, and I saved him. I rescued him, too. He was getting ready to get to the pound and put down because the lady lost her place. And I talked to her one time. She's really sweet, but she couldn't keep him. Anyway, so Clifford, my friend, talked me into taking O. And first he ate my Christ pillow. Bugger. And his name was Oscar, but I called him O because he made some message, and his crap, oh my God. Yeah, so we would go out and I'd walk him all the time. And he protected me. O did. In a way, I felt like he was Joey. You know, like Joey was connected with him and he was protecting me. Because like I said, at that time, they didn't let me know if Joe was alive or dead. I couldn't talk to him. They wouldn't let me. So I, went on with my life. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, really. I had to have faith that he was okay and pray. But we were talking, like, telepathically, Joey and me. And he shouldn't have had to do almost 6 months for that crap. 4.5 months. It's awful. And so I got the rig all ready, and yeah, O was a handful, but he was good company. He took care of me. And I got the rig all set up, and it was so sweet. We got home, and the next day, I got so sick. I got a kidney infection. It was bad. And it was COVID country. Anthony Fauci turned AIDS and HIV into COVID, and everybody was in fear. Everybody. We were all on lockdown, which for us was kind of a blessing. We loaded up with alcohol and said, let's get supplies. We can only go out like once a week, and we have to wear masks, say 6 feet apart. And everybody was panicking and putting up shields and putting out dots and just following suit. And that was like a test to see how people would react. And then everybody had to get tested, and everybody had to get vaxxed except for immigrants, which that's obvious. People see it too, other people, it's not just me. I'm just saying how I experienced this experience. Please bear with me. Thank you for listening. If you're still listening, this is just me. I'm telling my own story. How I experienced, because I got AIDS and HIV too, and they never considered my illnesses really. They even told me when I was in Colfax County Jail, I had to see the nurse. And I told her I'm HIV positive. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm like, what are you telling me, honey? What I am and what I'm not? You want to call my doctors? I put you on the spot. I'll tell you. Why would I lie about it? So anyway, she treated my arm. It was hurt. From the officer who arrested me for Travelodge eye treatment. Anyway, I was okay. They let me out and, laughed at me. So, Joe and I, we got settled in Fort's RV and got into the lockdown, and we got to stay down, and I needed the rest because when Joey got there, I got really, really sick. Joey had to take care of O, and we had a little kitten, Crown Princess Peachy. And it's funny because then they called it the Crown virus instead of Wuhan. They called it the Crown virus, and they called it the Delta virus, and they were running out of variances. It's weird. And there's Anthony Fauci saying, hey, we're in the season. And by that time, the kids were, back with Mike. And Kennelly gave Mike full custody of the girls. And I had, I was supposed to have rights to be able to communicate with them and talk to them through the therapist and reestablish communication. I was in therapy. I was on probation in Trinidad. They put me on probation for a year, I think it was, or so. And I was on probation. They were watching me for Santa Fe for the case I had with Chris of St. Vincent's when I went to go get help. And they arrested me in 2019. And that's a whole nother story with attorneys. But anyway, so they were babysitting me kind of there in Trinidad. In Pueblo. I had a probation officer there, Christopher Cordova. He was really, really great. And he understood what I was going through. He really did. Very sympathetic, and he was a great probation officer, Chris Cordova. He was very good to me. I learned a lot from him. Another part of the experience with the judicial system. And I was getting my therapy every week and doing my thing, riding straight, not getting in any trouble. Really. And, I'll never forget at the, that final, divorce hearing, where they granted me, my things that, were ordered for him to give me, but I was never given the opportunity to get those things. When I would go down, I went down with Albert, and Joe and I, stayed at Fort's RV for a while, and then I met a guy, friend Albert, at the food bank. Everybody was in the food lines. Everybody. Had cars lined up everywhere. Restaurants closing down. It was really chaos. And I went down to Raton with Albert and Paulette. We went to stay with them. And in the beginning it was fine, and then I started casting a light, I guess. And they didn't like that. That's a whole nother part of the story. But anyway, we had Patsy Sweet parked there behind their house and staying there. And, I was doing work, and Joey was doing work around the house in exchange for rent, and paying rent, too. Giving him money. But Paulette was really, really heavy, really, really sick, and so was Albert. And they seemed so sweet in the beginning. And that's when I found out about Carlos Cordova. And that was late 20, let me see. Yeah, 2021. Close to that. Because I didn't know that they had Carlos Cordova arrested. I had no idea. Nobody told me anything. That Dixie got raped in the first degree. You'd think they might want to tell the mom that. Even if I didn't have custody. Even during my hearings with Mike, I'm trying to tell them, and they're not listening. It's like I'm talking, nobody's hearing at all what I'm saying. He was falsifying so many things. Wasn't even funny. And I'm coming to the end of this chapter, because we're in 2021. And it's been a long, long road. And I'm leaving, like I said, I'm just doing the highlights, really. Because I got to go to bed. This is 2 chapters today, but I need to do this for me and get this out of me. This is just my experience, just my truth. You don't have to listen if you don't resonate with me. I'm authentic, really. And for the last of this, I'll put me on camera. There we go. Yeah. I am authentic, and I am telling the truth, as hard as it is. And I'm really sick, too. I have been for a long time. With everything. Especially what I'm witnessing, what I've witnessed, what I've walked through. But it's given me great empathy. And I wouldn't want anybody to suffer like me. I pray that my kids get the help that they need, mostly. With all sincerity. That the planet can heal, that they can heal. And someday we'll be in a better place, that's a certainty. But you see, I've got to get my truth out. I'm 63. And I may not have another opportunity to share my experience, because I know it's not just me. I'm not just sitting here on a pity pot. I'm just sharing my experience, strength, and hope. My wisdom, what I've learned. And so I know it's a long, long, long listen. And I thank you if you are still present. If I can spare you. And in my agony, this could happen to you. I was ignorant. It really was. But then I was kept in darkness. I was kept behind the scenes. Yeah, I said that before. So anyway, yeah, all this was happening all at once. So many things were happening at the same time. Isn't it funny? So I went down with Albert. I wrote the court, and I told Mike, and I told the PDs and the sheriffs that I'm just coming down to take inventory of my stuff that I was granted in my divorce, you know? I gave everybody 2 weeks' notice, and it was a long weekend, I think. But Albert and I went and just did it in one day. We weren't going to stay. I just wanted to go down and document to see how I could get my property that was granted in my divorce, right? And we drive all the way down there from Pueblo. And it was a long drive to Raton, or Maxwell. And I called the PD to have him meet us, so I'm not breaking the DV that was still against me. He kept just getting it, it didn't matter if, I didn't call anybody or threaten anybody really, because he could never get real witnesses against me, because the truth, I wasn't rude, and I wasn't demanding, and I wasn't threatening, But he would exaggerate it all, though. And then, other people would believe it, I guess. But he would always override them. It's the weirdest thing. So, when Albert and I were waiting for the PD to show up, the sheriffs, so I could go just do a video, just go do a video. And they're taking forever to get there. And I said, I'll be parked around the corner. So I was parked back of the house. It was a couple streets over. And I'm sitting there with Albert, we're listening to to music. And the stater, John Valdez, came and talked to me first in the morning with Albert. And he said, you're going to have to wait until this afternoon. Sorry, the DV order, there's complications and, all this. And I'm going, hey, wait a minute. I gave everybody notice 2 weeks ago I was coming. I just want a video. I'm not taking anything. You'll have to wait until, the sheriff's get, this was a stater, John Valdez, or Raton PD. John Valdez. Anyway. So he knew, oh, yeah. And then, so we had to wait, right? All day until 3 p.m, till the sheriff came on duty. And that just happened to be the young man who bought our mobile home with his wife and 3 kids for a deal. He didn't really have any money, so pretty much gave it to him for $5,000. And he helped us move to Maxwell. And so we waited all day, drove around. Okay, I'm getting the go around. Nobody was at the house. It was empty, seemed. And there was my dog, Sergeant of the Steel Cross, and I called him. Hey, Sergeant. He wanted to jump that fence in the worst way. But anyway, so I think I did some videos that day. Yeah. And we come back about 3. I took him out to Tanaha, showed him some of the sights, Albert. And we talked, obviously. And he was very uncomfortable how I was being, shooed and treated. Okay. So we waited till 3 and went back. I'm on an hour, so it's going to go over just a little bit, but it's important. And the officer comes, and I wish I could remember his name offhand. I can't right now. He was the kid that bought my house. Anyway. So he says, no, we have a problem with your DV order. It's not allowing you to. And there's no judge to hear you because it's the weekend. And I sure as chips we couldn't stay down there. I just went down to get a video and come back the same day with Albert. But no, there's conflict here. Some kind. You can't get anything or take inventory even. I didn't go to take anything. I was just going to get inventory. So we ended up going all the way home. Went all that way for nothing. And I was so anxious about it. It was awful. And again, I got turned around. There you go. Hey, I know it's a story, but it's true. So I love you.